Well, listen, let me share with you what it is that I want to talk with you about today. And this occurred to me just the other day, and it's something that I struggle with, I find myself, and I'm actually going to go into quite a bit more depth. Okay, Paula, awesome. Um, um, One of my favorite books was The Good Earth, or is rather, The Good Earth by Pearl Buck. Now, I've also seen the movie, which, if not, I'm not mistaken, won an Academy Award, and also featured white people in makeup to play the Chinese people. So, not exactly historically a good thing. However, the book is, from what I understand, quite historically accurate and very interesting. And it's about a an impoverished young man, very, very impoverished young man in a small village in China who saves up his pennies till he has enough money to use as a dowry to pay for a wife. And it's all about how slowly and painfully, because of economic conditions and also because of Mother Nature herself. It's an interesting comparison because what they deal with is not a global pandemic. What they deal with is lack of food. It gets to where they eat the bark off of the trees and try and make soup just to stay alive. So it's a story of survival, but then over time, of course, things begin to arc, and ultimately he becomes a very, very wealthy man. Now, when he and his wife have their first child, they are walking outside carrying the baby. Now, during these times in China, a male child was considered prized and favored because the male child would grow up to really help around the house in their minds and also around the farm. And that person would be someone who could ultimately take things over and then care for the parents in the old age. In the book, girl babies are referred to as slaves. They refer to girl babies as slaves because they see it as a girl child is someone who has to be fed and cared for, who's going to help out some, but ultimately going to be sold via a dowry to someone else. Now, this is the point I'm getting to. They have a son. Wang Lung and his wife have a son. And they need to go out and go shopping. And so they take the son and they wrap him up and they carry him out into the village. And as they do that, they make sure they cover his face and they say, "Oh, it is not a boy. It is only a poor slave. Just a poor slave, not a boy." Now, who are they talking to? They're talking to the universe. They are talking to the forces of nature they perceive. They are talking to their superstitions. The idea is that if you downplay your good fortune, it will not be taken away from you. And I feel like we live that out in our culture. We live this Wang Lung myth, and we do it for a number of reasons. Part of it has to do with our first world guilt, which I'm going to talk about because I'm going to talk about myself, and I've actually got a JumpStart scheduled to talk about that. But we do this because in some ways we feel somewhat guilty for having things so good, while a lot of people in the world, and indeed in our own country and often in our own communities, do not. So we downplay our good fortune. The other thing is that we often compare our good fortune to the good fortune of others, and in so doing, we often will always find somebody who's got it better than us, and so we find ourselves lacking. So we downplay our good fortune. And the other thing I find is that if we downplay our good fortune, in other words, if we say, "Yeah, but," and complain about it or unhappy about it or denigrate our good fortune, then when something goes wrong, which it always does, then the fall is not so far. So in our minds, if things go really great, rather than appreciating it at a very, very high level, we kind of keep, we'll see. And I just want to get across to you that this is learned behavior. You probably saw your parents. You certainly see society and culture this way. And by the way, this has nothing to do with bragging about your good fortune. This does not mean going around and telling everybody how great things are. It does mean having close enough friends and people in your life, family, coworkers even, who support what you're doing so much that when something goes great, like I just put together this thing I'm going to tell you all about in a few days. But I just put together this idea, which is just enormous, and I'm so excited, and I'm bringing together all these other thought leaders, and I'm just so excited about this. And I want someone that I can call and share those good things with, who's not going to go, man, well, you're bragging, or, oh yeah, well, let me tell you what I did. But someone who feels as good for you as you feel yourself. The main person you want to get over this Wang Lung myth of downplaying your good fortune is yourself. Is yourself. What you want to do is play it up. You want to feel, and by that I mean feel it inside. Feel it inside. You're going to hear me over and over because a lot of my own personal growth and healing has been identifying feelings, not thoughts. Feelings, and feelings are somewhere inside this thing that I walk around with, okay? It's a feeling. So identifying those feelings of enjoying what it is that you have. It's not about bragging to the world. It's about celebrating it yourself and not downplaying it. It's kind of amazing how people will, and I've seen this, I've done this, they'll want to be in a relationship and they'll feel lonely and they'll want to, be connected with somebody, and then they'll meet somebody and things will go well. And your eyes often will start to look at the challenges or the things that you don't appreciate more than the things that you do. And I think that this is not so much your ego or your mind trying to protect you as it is downplaying your good fortune. And in some ways, if you can celebrate those relationships by shining light on them, they tend to last longer. They tend to last. They tend to be enjoyable. So savor those moments. What is good in your life? Yeah, I just saw it, and I'm going to come back to all of your comments here in just a second. I see that Paula says, count our blessing. Done the downplaying thing all my life, said Michelle. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Great, Michelle. Message, says Michelle. Thank you. It is a way of I feel not feeling guilty. Yeah. One time I was playing golf with a friend and I was bragging about something I had done. He is one of those people that I feel that I can share my good fortune with. However, he keeps me in check, which is something I really appreciate about him. And he said, it's awful easy for a guy who was born on third base to crow about hitting a home run. I said, you know what? You're right. And so one of the things that I do is I often downplay myself, downplay my importance, downplay what I can do. And we all do it as a way of keeping ourselves safe. And the true thing is, there is no safety in life. I mean, none of us would have predicted. We would have all said, we should prepare for a global pandemic because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, right? However, that would have been something that we would have never actually taken any action towards. And yet, it can happen. So the things that can really get us are not the things that we tend to even take the time to worry about. So we might as well celebrate what is going well. Celebrate your day. Celebrate your good fortune. And this is the other thing. I realize that it's like you pay for your good fortune by feeling bad. I don't mean you, I mean me. I pay for my good fortune by feeling bad. Gay Hendricks wrote a wonderful book called Upper Limiting, in which he talks about when most of us experience something really, really great, we will tend to mess it up either internally or externally. We will begin to worry about something else, obsess about something else, or we will downplay the good thing and even think that maybe it'll go poorly. An example for me might be if someone says they want to hire me for an entire day and pay me just a month's salary, which happens sometimes. So I'm like, absolutely great. We work it all out. And then my suffering would be, what if they change their mind? What if they don't call? Well, luckily I've been doing this for 13 years and I know it's a numbers game. And I also know that my calendar gets filled up. So a lot of times it's just changing that perspective. It's being grateful for what you have and saying, you know what? I choose not to worry today. If and when something happens, I'll worry about it. But for now, can I feel inside what it feels good to have? Can I feel good to have a wonderful dog that loves to cuddle me? He's not here today, but he does. Can I feel good that I have people who love me? What does that feel like to know that I have people who love me, people who look forward to seeing me? Take all of that in for yourself. You deserve to have that. The rest is a myth. And right on time, do you hear that? They're starting the saws outside. So everybody, if you've got a comment, leave it. We're still going to do this meditation. I'm going to figure it out if the saws are not too noisy. Everybody, thank you. Please share today. Not only share, but everybody, please not only share, but make a note that you shared. And that allows me to thank you. Listen, everybody have a great day. And I will tell you, I don't even have it open right now, what we're going to talk about tomorrow, because I feel like I'm kind of in evacuation mode. The power's going to go off in 9 minutes and the saws are starting outside. I'm looking forward to my day, and I mean that sincerely. That's not being sarcastic. I'm going to find a way to make all this great. Another spot-on message, I've been guilty of these things. Oh, spot-on message, says Scott. Thank you. Lim Balloon says, barely. Lisa Bartels, one of my favorite JumpStarts, really hit home. Thanks. All right, well, listen. You deserve to have what you have. You deserve to have someone and people love you. You deserve to feel good about that. Not always kind of going, yes, but. Get your butt out of here, all right? I love you all. I'll see you tomorrow.